Excellent. Once again, I would like to welcome you all to our beautiful mentoring program. Today, we are going to be learning a very, very important skills, which I believe everyone should have, should know is very, very important life skill. And that is cooking. Yes, cooking. Very, very interesting because we all love to eat and we love food. And those food are being cooked and prepared. I know somebody may say, okay, I might go to McDonald's and buy food and all that stuff, but you know, it's kind of quite expensive if you keep on spending money buying things outside, buying food outside. And it's actually healthier when you prepare your own food. You get to put what you love to put in your food and you get to enjoy. So today we are going to be learning the basics of baking and cooking. All right, so today we have Mrs. Parquin. I don't think she needs an introduction because she was with us last week and she did an excellent job teaching us the basics of sewing. So today she's going to be teaching us the basics of baking / cooking. So let's welcome Mrs. Parquin to take over. And I know she has something very, very important to teach us today. Ms. Parquin, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, today we're going to do an apple crisp. So I usually go on the internet and I'll find something that I like. But before you even start, I printed mine out today, but you don't usually need to do that. But the first thing you should do is read the whole recipe. And that does a couple of things. So you don't make a mistake. And the second one is that you could check your ingredients if you have all your ingredients before you even start. Because if you're going through the recipe, and halfway down, you notice there's a very important ingredient that you need, like an egg or the butter or whatever. So I'll read the recipe. It says 10 cups of all-purpose apple, peel, core, and slice. 1 cup of white sugar. 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Half a cup of water. 1 cup of quick cooking oats, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of packed brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 cup of butter melted. Now it goes to the direction. If you look, the ingredients are on one side. And then you have on the other side, it will say the directions. So I picked one that was very simple. It's not the one that I usually do, but it's pretty good. So first thing it says, step 1, preheat oven at 350. Then step 2, place the sliced apple in the 9 by 13 inch pan. Mix with white sugar, 1 teaspoon of flour, and ground cinnamon together and sprinkle over the apple. Pour water evenly over all. Step 3, combine the oats, 1 cup of flour, the brown sugar, the baking powder, baking soda, the melted butter, and you mix it together. Crumble evenly over the apple mixture. Step 4, bake at 350 for 45 minutes. Then it says, then it tells you how many calories it is, but we're not going to read that. We don't need to know how many calories we're going to eat here.
This is okay. Parquin, please, are you able to email us a recipe so we can send it to the girls?
That's what I did. I sent it and you.
Oh, that's the recipe, that one?
That's the recipe. It didn't print and it was a little bit more difficult to send it that way, but that's what that is.
Okay, all right.
All right, okay. So it says the prep time is 30 minutes. The cooking time is 45 minutes. Additional 5 minutes. The total takes 1 hour and 20 minutes, and it'll serve 12 people. And it tells you what kind of pan you want. So I started to do the apples already. So let me bring you back over here. And this is my cutting board. So I cut most of the apples already. So what I did is I got big apples because I didn't feel like doing 20 apples. So I only bought 4 big ones. So I peeled it already. So I'm a little bit of a cheater. When I core it, I just cut the piece off flat. I'll do it for the 4 pieces. Okay. So then you want to have pieces that are chunks that are fairly large, because they kind of melt down. So if you have pieces that are too small, it'll just be like an applesauce at the bottom. So you want your pieces to stay big enough. So we'll do that. And what I did, it's a little trick here to cheat. If you have a fruit that turns yellow, what you can do is you could put lemon juice in it. So I poured a little bit of lemon juice in it to stop it from getting brown. So I'll put it together. So if you don't have a lemon, you could use lemon juice like this here. That works. Or if you don't have those two things, wait till the very end, just before, so you could do your crumbles first, and wait till the end to cut your apple so that it doesn't turn too brown.
Sorry, Mrs. Parkwin, please, do you have the instructions so that, because they might forget some steps along the way. Do you have the instructions as well?
The instructions for
what
for
you're
the recipe?
doing? Yes.
Yeah, I sent it to you via messenger.
Okay, that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's check. Messenger. Okay.
Perfect.
So now I don't have a 9x15. What is it? 9x15 or 9 by 13. But if you have 2 like this here, it will do the same. So you have to be able to evolve a little bit. So the next step, so I've got I sliced all of the apple. My next thing, it says mix white sugar and 1 tablespoon of flour and ground cinnamon. But you have to be careful, because in this recipe, it asks us for sugar twice. One is white sugar, the other one is brown sugar. So I have to put 1 cup of white sugar in the apples. So my measuring cup here is 1/2 of a cup. So I'm going to put 2 of these. So you have to make sure that you're leveled. That's 2. So, okay, let's go back to the recipe. And my next ingredient is going to be one tablespoon of flour. So I've got these here, and they're all marked over here, tablespoon. So I'm going to use this one. So you want to make sure that you are leveled. So to be level means that it's level to the spoon. So that's a level tablespoon. If they call for a heaping would be like this here. It overflows. So that's a level tablespoon. Then my next ingredient is going to be cinnamon. And it says for the cinnamon, it asks us for 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you don't have measuring spoons like this here, what you can do, you have different spoons in your kitchen. So this is a small one. This would be called a teaspoon. This one here would be a tablespoon. So you could use these here if you don't have baking ingredients, like baking utensils. So this works also. So now I have to put 1 teaspoon, and it's got to be leveled. So you got to make sure that you have and then it asks for a little bit of water, but the water goes in after. It says, once you put this, so I'm just going to mix it, and then I'll put a little bit of water on top of it.
All right, so I just sent you guys the recipe. So if you would like to, it's in your email. So if you'd like to follow along with that as well, and you'd like to try it later on, it's in your email, okay? Thanks, Ms. McQueen, for sending it.
You're welcome. Okay, so you make sure that you mixed it in. This recipe asks that you put it just on the top. And a couple of times I've had problems with that because the flour stayed in the paste. And what the flour does inside this recipe on the apples is that because the apples are going to release a lot of liquid when you bake them. So what happens with that is that it becomes really runny, but with the flour is going to stop it from being runny at the bottom. So the flour is what makes like a thick juice, like a thick syrup at the bottom. So that's why I like to put it in a pot first and mix it. And then from there, I'll pour it in. Yeah, at this point, I should be turning my oven on. And it said to put 350. So I'll turn my oven on and it will be ready when I'm done with the rest of the recipe. You have to make sure that your oven is preheated. So I'm trying to smoosh it down so that it's pretty much all at the bottom. And we'll add a couple of tablespoons of water in it. It asks for half a cup, so I'm going to put about 1/4 of a cup in each because I'm making it in 2 different pans. This recipe freezes really well if you want to freeze it. Okay, so those are ready. You can just leave them on the side. Now we're going to go and do the crumble part of it that you're going to mix on top of it. So it says combine the oats, the flour, the brown sugar, the baking powder, the baking soda, and the melted butter. So I'm going to go on the other side of the ingredient list, and I'm going to look for these ingredients that they asked for. So the oats. So it says 1 cup of oats. Then my next ingredient is going to be flour. So on my other side, it says 1 cup of flour. Okay, I'm going to show you a little something here. When you're putting flour in a cup, if you dig it in like that, and you put it in, and you use the edge, what happens is that it's compacted. And some of the recipes, like if you're doing a cake, if you do that, then your cake's not going to be fluffy. So if you could get used to using something else and pouring your flour inside like that, then you're not getting it all compacted, because it will tell you when you need to have something packed. So this is, it'll make it nice and fluffy. So 1 cup of flour. My next ingredient is brown sugar. Now, when I read the recipe, it says 1 cup of packed brown sugar. So this is where you have to pack it. Can you see this? Okay, so when you put it in, you have to pack it because it's asking for packed brown sugar. So they'll usually tell you if you want it packed or fluffed, or there's different things. So you have to know a little bit of these different terms. So this is 1 cup of brown sugar. So that all goes in together. When you're doing a recipe, usually you do cookies, you always do your wet ingredients in one, and then you'll do your dry ingredients in the second one. Because then right now what I'm going to have to do is add baking soda and baking powder. So then after that, I'll have to sift it a little bit. I'll have to mix it around, because you don't want to be eating a piece of apple crumble and you get a whole teaspoon of baking powder or baking soda. It won't taste good. So, okay, baking powder, they want 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. So there's a little slot in here, so you'll take it, and then on the edge here, I could just move my spoon across the edge, and then I'll have a level teaspoon, a level 1/4 teaspoon. My next one is baking soda. And that's the same. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring it up and I'm going to rub it against the edge here. And then I'll have a level. Okay, so I've got all of those ingredients in there now. The only ingredients left is the butter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this really well first, so that I can mix the baking soda in it and the baking powder, so that it's not all in one area. The recipe I usually do, it doesn't ask for melted butter. You have to work it in. So what you have to do is I usually break it up and put it in the recipe. But you have to remember your hands are really hot. So you can't just be squishing it like that, because then you'll heat it up and it's going to make your crumble really tough. So if you're doing that recipe and it doesn't ask for melted butter, you have to take your butter and you just bring your butter in and just kind of slide it through your hands like that. So the less manipulating that you do, the better it is. Because if you play with it too much, then it'll make it tough. So let me put the butter in the microwave to melt it. All right, just going to mix that, and it should crumble by itself. And then we'll just divide it and put it in the two different pans, and then we're ready to put it in the oven. That's how simple that is. Not a very difficult recipe, and it's a very big hit. People love it. You could, once it's done, if you want to, you could freeze it if you're not going to use it right away. Okay. And the thing is, you have to be careful not to manipulate it too much. So go, can you see this on the camera? Can you see what I'm doing or no?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Up here. And if the chunks are too big, just break them up. And try to divide it to half and half. This oven takes a very long time to preheat, so I guess I'm gonna have to wait for a little bit before I could put it in. Did you guys lose power last night?
No, did you?
Yes, we did.
Really? Was it windy?
Very windy here.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad he's back now.
Yes. Okay, and this is it, my girls. This is the recipe, and this is what it looks like. Then it goes in the oven, and it says to bake it for 45 minutes. So the reason, you can tell when it's cooked is all of this here, because of the butter, is going to make it crispy. So once they're crispy, then you'll know that it's ready. So about 45 minutes. All right. And then that's it. We're done.
Do you have one that has been made already so we can see what it's like?
Nope.
No. Okay, so that means we have to wait for next time to see what it's like.
I'll send a picture when it's cooked.
Okay, excellent. That would be great. All right, so thank you so much, Mrs. Banquet, for showing us how to do the apple crisp recipe. So I want to challenge you girls. Go home. We didn't want you guys to do it while she's doing it because we wanted you to stay with your parents while they're doing it, just in case. All right, and I know some of your parents might be busy, so you might not be able to do it hands-on. So that's why we did what she showed us. But I want to challenge you. We've emailed you the recipe and the instructions. So you can do it to your parents, or if you're allowed to cook it alone at home, please do it, try it, and let us know what it's like next week if you're able to get it, and how, and if possible, take a picture of what you did, and so that we can see next week. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any question for her? So I guess you guys are all gonna get it, right? I can't wait. If you can send it over the internet for me, email or something, so I can taste your recipe, that would be nice. But I know that's not possible. That's not possible. But yeah, try it out. Try it out with your parents. Try it out alone if you're allowed, and take a picture of your end product, and let us see what it's like next week. So yeah, so that will bring us to the end of the class today. But remember, next week is going to be our last class, our graduation for this cohort. And we're going to be talking about leadership as well. And I will be working on your graduation certificate for this cohort, and I will present it and probably email it to you. But we'll be doing a presentation next week as well. So I think that was a pretty 1 hour and a dot. That was great. Awesome. Thank you. If we don't have any questions, let's appreciate Mrs. Parkway. Thank you so much. Yay. A great job. Well done. Thank you.
Okay, ladies.
Okay. So we're going to try it this week and let us know how it's. Next cohort, we're planning that we'll have a more in-class, Somebody just dropped off. Oh, Mrs. Parkwin, okay. All right, so next cohort, we're planning that by God's grace, we'll have more practical. So that way, some of these things, I know the sewing and the cooking is a lot easier if we were able to do it ourselves, you know. So next cohort, we'll try this. This is just an introduction, okay? So next cohort, we'll try to see if we can have a more practical class. Hopefully all this COVID thing will subside and we can have a place where we can get together and practice it. It's easier when you see it, when you're doing it and when you see it and I'm talking about, but this, at least you have an idea of what to do and what it's like. So if you don't have any questions, I think I'll let you go for now. So we'll see you guys next week, same time, 2:30 for our last section for this cohort. So extend our love to your, actually, I'm just gonna stop recording right now before I start. All right.